Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined Malcolm Tucker as he travels to our nation's capital to use colorful expletives to start a war, landing on episode number 296. We're just going to stay here and rehearse saying nothing.
It's difficult, lemon difficult.
I'm Keith.
What's wrong? Oh,
He's saying nothing.
He's rehearsing saying nothing.
He's sticking with it.
I'm going to break it. I'm Glenn. He doesn't want to hear the wrath of Malcolm, so.
That's true.
He scares me.
Oh, here he comes.
I'm Sean.
How are you guys?
Scared of Malcolm.
Did you guys have a good week?
I finally got around, or I actually got Holly around to watching Spectre.
Oh, what'd you
The
think?
James Bond film. I enjoyed it. It was a blast. It's a lot of fun. I watched the last 2 episodes in the season of Rebels with Mason today.
Oh, what'd you think
we are
of the
done.
season finale?
It was good. It was really good. It didn't go quite where I thought it was going to go, but it was a real neat surprise when everybody shows up there at the end, and we realize finally that they're just a cell of Rebels, which is something they haven't been saying because they've been acting on their own. But they finally getting the reveal of who Fulcrum is, and when Bail shows up,
Did you
and
know
then
that?
Ahsoka comes down. I suspected it, knowing that Ahsoka was going to show up. So
I've got 2 episodes left of Stranger Things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is really good.
We started that this week.
What'd you think of how far did you get? Just one episode?
Because we're doing it with Patrick, so we're going to have to suffer. We only get 1 episode a week.
I guess I better hurry up and finish so I'm done before him. Because I stalled out on after the second episode. I haven't gone into
I watched an episode at night because there's only 8 episodes, but then Saturday night I wound up watching 2 episodes because the cliffhanger for the episode 5 was so good.
So what you're saying is in 8 weeks we'll get Sean's review.
Final review of it.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I loved the feel of it. A lot of nostalgia in there. I didn't get hooked off of episode 1.
Yeah.
But I also didn't get hooked on Firefly after episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying about episode 1 and for me episode 2 is the same. It's good. It's quite enjoyable. The thing I'm getting the most out of is the nostalgic feel, but I haven't been hooked by those 2, and I think it's the reason it's been harder to go on.
I was intrigued enough by the premise to continue on and go, okay, I'll watch episode 3.
And I will. I didn't give up.
And that's
on
the one that got its claw in.
Yeah, see, and so I'm encouraged by the fact that it sounds like it really picks up. So.
And I'm kind of itching to finish it because, oh man, it's doing things that I didn't think it would do, and it's some incredible storytelling. Let alone the music in it is phenomenal. Oh, it's so good. I'm kind of disappointed there's only 8 episodes because I'm enjoying it so much.
Well, maybe they'll do a season 2.
They are, and it's going to be a sequel. And then we watched In the Heart of the Sea.
Oh, the Hemsworth whale movie.
Yeah, the whale movie.
The real story of Moby Dick.
Well, partial real story. It only inspired part of Moby Dick.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Forgot it was a Ron Howard film. Should have known because it was a serious film with Chris Hemsworth in it.
He's only done one other of those.
I think I read somewhere that the guy that's based on loses his entire crew and his ship. He survives.
Dude, I ain't seen it yet.
Goes back to England. They commission him another ship. He goes out, loses that ship and his entire crew, and ends up getting out of service to the crown and going and living on some island and dies destitute with no money.
There's a bit more
and
to
I
it
thought,
than that.
why the heck are we doing a film on this guy who lost 2 crews?
The movie focuses on the first crew.
Yeah,
the first ship.
that's what I've read.
With the big whale that's white.
Right.
It's not everybody. He doesn't lose everyone. He does lose the ship, but it's
so
not
they took
really
poetic license with the film then, because according to the accounts, he lost everybody on the second ship. He didn't lose it. You're right.
Because there's Chris Hemsworth makes it through the movie.
Well, no,
because it's Chris Hemsworth.
He's the only one that lives.
But he's not the guy
in
the sequel.
No, in the legend, but
yeah, he's played by Abraham Lincoln.
He lives both times. So.
The vampire hunter.
Oh, the act. Okay.
Yeah. And Spider-Man does a good job in it.
Wait, okay, back up.
And Benjen Stark does a good job in it.
So you're telling me that Thor and Spider-Man
Go out whale hunting.
and Abraham Lincoln
Vampire Hunter.
go out and hunt whales?
Yes.
I might have to watch this movie. That should have been the title. In the Heart of the Sea
Why on
does
earth
not
did
get
this
butts in
flop?
seats.
Why on earth did this flop at the
That's
box
the title.
office? I mean, and then Richie Cunningham directed it.
In the heart,
Yeah.
in the Heart of the Sea, that sounds like a Titanic documentary about the jewel.
And it has Q in it. He plays Herman Melville.
Wait,
Delancey's in it.
No, from Bond.
Desmond Llewellyn's in it?
From Spectre and
Oh.
Skyfall, Young Q.
Well, I was going to run through them. You mean
Paddington.
John Killies is in it?
Paddington Bear.
Does that make you R? New Q.
New Q.
Oh,
New Q.
he's cool. He's not. He's not
Ben
Delancey.
Wishaw.
Much better in this one, too, by the way. Spectre.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Something else I liked about it.
Yeah.
It was, the whale movie was pretty good.
Well,
There's something about it that just I can kind of see why it flopped, because I didn't go out of that going, wow, that was incredible. I went out of that going, well, that was that. Not in a bad way, but it was all right.
they should have called it Thor and Spider-Man and Abraham Lincoln hunt whales. People would have gone and seen that movie.
Some parts of it were really hard to see, and some of the stuff that happened in it is kind of disturbing. So it's
Your reaction of, yeah, that happened, was my reaction to Master and Conqueror. Everybody thinks that that's such a great film, and I went, it happened.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
It's
Master
got
and
a great-
Commander.
Commander, not Conqueror. Master and Commander. It's Russell Crowe and Vision. What's his name?
Paul Bettany.
Jarvis. Paul Bentley. And
Bettany.
Bettany. And they do a great
Gladiator
job.
and Vision go on a boat trip. That's got to be my new thing.
If I like Gladiator better, that would excite me.
Or Noah and
Well, at least the S and boat experience then.
Superman's dad.
Jor-El. This is a
Robin
fun.
Hood?
This is a fun game.
Well, it's all superheroes if you do it that way. Superman's
true.
dad and Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'm almost done with the story levels for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Lego: The Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I introduced Sarah to the musical episode of Buffy, just because I've been working my way through,
You were bored.
and I was ready for it.
I watched The Wind Rises.
What's that?
It's another Studio Ghibli film, because we've kind of slowly been working our way through those. And we kind of keep hoping to find the next Ponyo that Katrina loves. I don't know, Ponyo is wonderful. And this one, this was equally wonderful, just not for Katrina. It's an autobiographical film about a Japanese aircraft designer. I mean, if it was live action, you got Spielberg and Daniel Day-Lewis. It's that kind of...
Or Richie Cunningham.
Or Richie Cunningham. It's really good, but it
And
just...
Thor.
But Daniel Day-Lewis hasn't played a superhero, so we can't we can't play our game with that
Can't
one.
do that one. But it's really good. It was worth watching. And then Mel and I we started a couple of weeks back our Next Gen rewatch, and we're already up to we just tonight finished Angel 1, which I realized is an episode that I know I've seen all of these episodes at one point in time. I remembered nothing about it, so it was kind of like, it's new Star Trek to me.
Yeah. Should we move on to feedback?
Let's move on to feedback. Our first bit of feedback comes from Kirk. And Kirk writes, "The curse of the forgotten feedback. Hey, Vortex gang, I had the best of intentions. Really! I intended to send feedback for the Macro Terror last week. I watched the Loose Cannon reconstruction. I read the novel Target novelization. Then I completely forgot to write my feedback.
Aww.
Under the principle of better late than never, I'll share my thoughts now.
Yay!
Listeners, it's always better late than never.
Always better late than never.
This was my first experience with the Macro Terror. My main takeaway was that it seemed underdeveloped. I don't have any major gripes. I just had the feeling that there wasn't much special going on. The supporting characters weren't very well fleshed out. The TARDIS team barely interacts with the monsters. I found the whole affair to be simple and by the numbers. I think it's telling that the production team didn't even bother to give the planet a name.
Okay.
I can see that.
I can...
As the wise men say, any who is a good who. But there's nothing wrong with the Macro Terror, but I guess by my forgetting to send feedback, I demonstrated my opinion that it's fairly forgettable. There's no sad trombone for me, but I would give it a low volume dun dun dun. There was one notable difference.
I think your dun 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 was a little too emphatic for him.
Maybe. Lowercase dun, all caps dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. There was one notable difference in the novelization that I liked. Instead of having Medoc disappear from the story after being dragged away by a Macra, he turns up on the surface at the end to watch the Doctor and crew go into the TARDIS and disappear. Since Medoc was such a big part of the earlier episodes, it seems fitting to have him bookend the story with this closing bit. As far as the Macra's appearance in Gridlock, I always enjoyed that story a lot. The poor Macra, however, have de-evolved from lurking super-intelligent overlords into bottom-feeding vermin. What a downfall! Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. I've only listened to the first part of this week's podcast. I really enjoyed Brenda's account of the Tudor monarchs and other English queens. She skipped over one queen who was a curious footnote. Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen. Lady Jane was briefly the de facto monarch of England and Ireland between the reign of Edward VI and Bloody Mary. Now, I'm only really mentioning her to sneak in a recommendation for the 1986 movie Lady Jane, starring a very young Helena Bonham Carter and an almost as young Carrie Elwes. I said that right? Right? Elwes?
Yes.
Okay. It's been ages since I've seen it, but I remember enjoying it a lot. And it's not just because it's my first encounter with Helena Bonham Carter. I'll wrap it up with a bit of news. By the time this episode hits the feeds, the dates for next year's Planet Comic-Con Kansas City will be announced. Look forward to seeing you guys and many Vortex listeners as possible at the show on April 28th, 29th, and 30th, 2017. Happy TARDIS travels, Kirk.
It's twofold. It's news and feedback.
That's right.
Glad we did it first.
Speaking of Better Late Than Never, something else I did this week. I watched Better Late Than Never.
What's that?
That Shatner and Henry Winkler and George Foreman.
How is it?
Oh my gosh, that is the funniest thing on television right now. It is so good. It's Captain Kirk, the Fonz, Terry Bradshaw, and it's so funny, guys. I'm not going to go into it because we've already done what we did this week, but you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it. It is so much fun. Those guys genuinely, they bicker at each other, but they genuinely look like they're best of friends having a grand time in Asia.
I will have to look it up.
It's the bestest. I can't remember the comedian that's their guide and sidekick's name, but I think it's Dave something. There's one scene where Terry Bradshaw's mouthing off in a bar.
Not Stephen Fry.
No, that's not Stephen Fry.
Okay, then he's not in it. Never mind.
Anyway, he's mouthing off in a bar, and the guy who describes Terry Bradshaw. I told you I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do this. Describes Terry Bradshaw and says, Terry Bradshaw, when he's had a beer, he'll say just about anything. He says, imagine your grandpa who, just says things, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, granddad. He says, now imagine Terry Bradshaw is your grandfather. Now imagine you took your grandfather to Asia. It's lots of little things like that. It's so well done, and it's cut together beautifully. So,
do they go into how these guys know each other?
Not necessarily.
I'm just
at
curious.
At the beginning, they start out with Henry calling up everybody and saying, "Hey, let's go to Asia," type thing. So it seems like there's a little bit of scripting done. But overall, I think it's genuinely their experiences that's being captured while they're in Asia. So I do know that Henry Winkler and William Shatner are good friends in real life. They hang together a lot. I get the impression that none of them have been to Japan, which is surprising for actors who have money, and none of them seem to have been to Japan. At least William Shatner kind of makes the comment that he'd never been there. I think Henry Winkler had, because, in fact, he gets to the train station and tons of people recognize who he is as Fonz. And so I think Happy Days was pretty popular over there. Anyway, we're done. We're going back to feedback because we got our portion of the show out of the way, and now I'm hijacking the show again. But watch that show. It's funny.
Well, thank you, Kirk. I'm glad you sent some feedback in.
And once again, the dates for next year's Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City, April 28th, 29th, and 30th. So please come join us. No guest announcements yet.
That's okay. It's going to be worth it no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Can we all make a prediction?
We're going to be there?
Well, no.
This just in, first guest announcement for Planet Comic Con 2017, Traveling the Vortex.
Can we all make our own prediction? Just throw one out there?
I guess.
It might be our wish list prediction, but...
Sam Jones.
How about you?
Hold on. You sprung this on me. I'm thinking.
Mark Hamill.
That'd be awesome.
That might be tough.
I'll go again. You got another one? You got one yet?
David Warner.
Oh, yes.
I knew I'd get you guys on that one.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with David Warner.
Oh, wait, I'm doing this wrong. Flash Gordon.
Flash.
Luke
Barry
Skywalker.
Allen, Grant Gustin.
And I can't just pick one for David Warner. The ultimate evil.
Stark.
It'd be really hard to get him.
Okay, what was Stark's first name in Tron?
Dillinger.
Dillinger, yeah. I just called him Stark.
I think it's actually Sark.
So that's what
Sark,
I meant.
not
I
Sark.
was crossing Iron Man in my
Yeah.
head. Yes, Sark.
Or we go with Jack the Ripper. Or we could go with Lovejoy. Or we could go with...
Up next in feedback is Mark. Wait, was David Warner really your guess?
Yeah,
Prediction.
I'm saying that.
Are you going to give us one?
I went with a logical or probable or doable guest that's doing cons now.
Is David Warner doing cons?
Yeah, he's been doing cons. David Warner.
David Warner.
Kirk, make it happen.
Please.
There it is. Okay. You threw me. I wasn't expecting Mark to be next. I had to look that one up. Mark writes, Bat Soup. Gents, I've been binge listening to the pod today. Been saving for a binge listen. What can I say? Netflix changed how I consume content. The Batman vs. Superman ep is a joy to listen to. Geeks are geeks are geeks. This film got a lot of hate for superficial reasons, but to hear an actual, intelligent discussion about it and its strengths and weaknesses, this is why I love your podcast. My own take on the film was formed on second viewing. My partner hated it the first time around. Second time, we took her son to see it, and she loved it. Why? Because of the length she'd missed certain bits from the first time. She also loved the subtle elements, Bruce making Alfred a drink. For me, Superman never worked in any film. I have certain dislikes when it comes to TV and film. Robin Hood, I'm from Nottingham, by the way, Westerns, and Superman. So I was always going to dislike that part of the film. But Batman, wow. For once, we saw the detective side of him. We saw his toys. Seriously, the smoke bomb and disappearing trick was done so well it was hardly noticeable. My son has a theory that the only winner in the film was Wonder Woman. For him, Batman did nothing during the boss battle. Superman dies.
Spoilers.
Wonder Woman just kicked ass and won the day. Needless to say, they got a new Wonder Woman fan with this film. At the age of 16, he is untainted by the TV series, so this is a new generation's Wonder Woman, and she is amazing, apparently. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Good to hear from you again.
We hope to be able to put out more of this style intelligent discussion on movies with a project that I'm not prepared to announce yet, but it may be coming.
Is that your teaser?
That's my teaser.
If you go
Trailer
to his
to come
YouTube channel, you might see a trailer for it.
There is a trailer up.
So this is the teaser for the trailer.
This is the teaser for the trailer,
Which has already come out.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. And maybe Glenn will take and edit out all of the stuff that happened in what we did this week, and we can do a second side trip. Nobody will write in on that one. Thank you again, Mark.
Yes, thanks, Mark. Up next in feedback is Chrissy.
Chrissy writes, Beyond the Doctor. Dear Vortex boys, woohoo! 2 feedback emails in 2 weeks. I'm on a roll.
My.
I didn't get to watch In the Loop this week. It's on my to-do list, but I did have an idea for you guys for more Beyond the Doctor type reviews. You could try moving on to companion actors and seeing the other things that they've been in. Now, I know that's a lot of companions to cover, but you wouldn't have to do them in sequence once a month, like you did with the Doctors. Maybe when you want to change things up a bit, you decide you want to slot in a Beyond the Doctor companion edition every now and then. I know that I've watched quite a few things, and I see an actor or actress, and I realize I've seen them in Doctor Who. It's kind of an exciting thing, plus I've enjoyed broadening my film/TV horizons by following your series, and it would be fun to continue that in some way. Of course, this is just an idea, and you can decide to do it or not. Just wanted to throw it out there. Have a good week. Chrissy.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy. It's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea, Chrissy.
We're laughing, Chrissy, because we had a discussion off mic last week about how Glenn was so happy to be done with this. And Keith said, well, I don't know, I kind of thought it was fun. Maybe we could do companions next.
Well, I think I said that first, and then Glenn said, well, no, I'm kind of done with this.
Oh, is that what it was? Vice versa. But I think it's a stellar idea, and it's something we'll keep in the wheelhouse.
And I agree with Chrissy. It doesn't have to be a monthly thing.
Doesn't have to be a monthly thing.
I'd love to see Elizabeth Sladen in something other than Sarah Jane. That's me.
Never say never again.
Is that a Bond film?
That is a Bond film.
Is she in that?
No. But there might be some Doctor Who actors in it.
I'm not going to go there. So
there is a Doctor Who actor in that. It's real obscure. It's real obscure. It wasn't a companion. He actually played a version of the Doctor.
Rowan Atkinson?
That's the one.
He's in Never Say Never Again?
Yeah, he's he's kind of M's everyman. You know, he's the one that I don't even know how to describe the character. He's kind of the
his assistant.
Yeah, his assistant. He plays M's assistant. He's kind of.
I got to go back and look for that.
It's kind of the money penny too. You know,
we even watched that one when we did our grand rewatch before Skyfall came.
He's not
out.
in it much. He's in it at the beginning and at the end, but yeah.
Well, if you want to send us feedback, you can send it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com or go to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and there's a little send us feedback tab. You should get a confirmation email when your email goes through. You can also reach out to us on Facebook and social media and other forms of social media like Twitter and Instagram, either Traveling the Vortex or @TravelVortex. You can track us down there.
And we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Should we move on to our review?
Remove on
To our review.
Shouldn't it be remove on to our view?
In the Loop. Peter Capaldi stars as a foul-mouthed British government spokesman who must act quickly when a mid-level minister tells an interviewer that the U.S. war in the Middle East is unforeseeable. But when they both are summoned to Washington, D.C., the hapless Politico quickly becomes a pawn of bureaucrats, spin doctors, and military advisors, including a hardened general. That's it.
That's it.
And then it starts going into actors and reviews.
So the Sopranos guy, and Doctor Who,
Dharma's mom, the girl from My Girl. And Veep.
Which interestingly enough, I think she plays the same type of character in Veep as she does in this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I liked this one.
Dun, dun, dun. Now, I come from having watched the series The Thick of It. So this is
it makes me want to go watch The Thick of It.
Let me warn you.
Speaking of Veep, it's very interesting because it's done in the same style.
Yeah, Veep is actually was born out of The Thick of It.
I wondered if it was.
Yeah, it supposedly is the American version. I will warn you, if you go watch The Thick of It, you're going to see a lot of the same actors, but not playing the same characters.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
Malcolm Tucker and Jamie MacDonald, who is the coolest man in Scotland, the press secretary guy. They're actually
destroyer of fax machines.
They're playing their same characters from The Thick of It, the exact same characters. But people like Chris Addison is playing a completely different character. Although Toby is very much like his character in Thick of It, it's a completely different character. This was kind of they call this an adaptation, so it's not really a continuation or a sequel. It's an adaptation of The Thick of It. So
Okay, so that actually explains
that's a good
lot for me.
description for it.
the guy that has the music always playing in his office, the operatic music and orchestral music in his office, he's also a different character in The Thick of It. Of course, then there's a lot of American actors in this that aren't in The Thick of It.
So Tom Hollander's character, the mid-level minister,
Simon Foster,
is not the minister that Malcolm would be overseeing in.
Well, he would oversee all the ministers because he's the communications
He's kind of
director
the head
for the
spin doctor.
prime minister.
for the Prime Minister.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
he's the CJ.
Everybody that has been appointed by the Prime Minister is essentially managed by Malcolm Tucker. Anything that they say, anything that would look poorly or speak from the office of the Prime Minister, Malcolm's going to get his nose in, and he does every time. Even in the series, he gets his nose into everybody, making sure that everybody's making the Prime Minister look good.
Yeah.
Cool. I want that job.
The Josh Ernest of England.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's
sort
the
of.
closest
Yeah.
comparison there
sort
could
of.
be.
Sort of.
I don't know who Josh Ernest is.
He's the
White House
President's
press
secretary.
secretary.
Yeah,
Oh, we have one of those?
we do.
We have a press secretary.
Does he swear a lot?
And he does
No.
not. He's a pretty mild-mannered guy too. It's not-
He's from Kansas City.
He's not a very
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Missouri.
He's a big Royals fan.
What's his name?
Josh
Ernest.
Coming for your job, Josh.
That's who Allison Janney played in The West Wing.
I haven't watched that either.
Very un Malcolm Tucker.
Very.
What I found fascinating about first of all, it's a comedy, but it's very dry, sardonic.
It is a
English.
dark, dry,
It's
and
very-
dark. and as it progresses, that we go from this very relatively innocent comment about war being unforeseeable, which just sounds bad. I mean, when you say it, war is unforeseeable. Oh man! But when you break that sentence down, as he says, it's unforeseeable. We cannot foresee it. That's the meaning of the word. That's not how the press takes it. So he goes from that and then gets pinned down on the climb the mountain of conflict. Which even I was going, oh, that's not good.
It's great because when he gets to the
Why didn't I
U.S.
toe
and
the
he's
line?
got like bumper stickers and posters up on walls that say it.
Motivational signs and sadly, isn't it just like us to take that and run with it as a yeah. But you get all the way to the end of I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm going to get to the end of it. The fact that this innocent comment then begins spawning people to go, well, what? Is there a war? Are we going to go to war? And all of a sudden, there are committees being formed, and there are, everything
Committee
begins
for preparation.
everything begins to escalate, planning for this war that I don't think anybody had planned for, except for this one guy who made a comment about not having a war. So we get to the end of the movie, and the only people who survive this ordeal are the general, who didn't want to go to war, but he's going to go to war because he's a general, the one U.S. politician who definitely wanted a war,
Pushed the war.
and Malcolm Tucker, who tried to prevent it, who did everything in his power to try and prevent it until it became very evident it wasn't going to happen, and then actively promoted it and spun it and said, yeah, spend it, and said we're going to we're going to be on the right side of this war. And the poor guy who didn't want to have anything to do with it, just
Because of a wall.
Forced to resign. That's the neat thing about this story is the fact that he's caught up in this conflict. He's caught up in wanting to be a bigger role than he is, inadvertently getting into that bigger role, and then what really kind of self-destructs is the fact that comes something down as basic as something happening in his own constituency.
And it's an excuse for them to fire him.
Yeah.
Because he's not walking the line.
Because the wall fell on the poor woman. The constituency wall. I am the walrus. It's very much in line with the same style that they do in the TV show The Thick of It. I really like how it's one of those films that nothing goes right, really. I mean, it doesn't turn out the way you expect a Hollywood movie to turn out. It's played some things very tongue-in-cheek while remaining serious through the entire thing. The plot and the story thread staying very serious, but playing farcical with all of the elements of it. I do know that when the movie was getting ready to come out, it was right at the beginning of Obama's term, and they were concerned that it would play well in the UK, but it would not play well in America because America had a different idea for where they wanted politics, and that this was very much in line with the previous administration of George W. Bush, and in fact probably more so parodied things that happened leading up to the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And so they didn't think it would play well, and it didn't do as well over here, but it got critical acclaim over here, and it actually was nominated for a Best Adapted Screenplay at the Oscars one year. It didn't win, but it was nominated.
Huh.
So, I have always liked Chris Addison in everything that I've seen. I liked him on Doctor Who. I liked him in Skins. I liked him on The Thick of It. And every time that I've seen him, to me, I first saw him in the role on The Thick of It that he plays. It's very similar to the Toby character in this film. And that's the way I always pictured Chris Addison.
Mm-hmm.
And thought that was probably just a typecast and that's how he would always play. But every time I see him in something different, he is so drastically different of a character. And I'm amazed at his acting chops because he really looks like a character actor, but every time he steps into a different role, it's completely different. And whether he's the smarmy salesman type selling heaven in Doctor Who, or in Skins, he plays the it would be our equivalent of a principal of a school, like the headmaster of the school is what he plays over there. And at one point in that particular story, he has a very, very dramatic part that really gets a chance to see his emotion. And so then to turn around and go back and watch this again and see that same character from the thing again, it was like, wow, this guy's range is just incredible. What was also surprising was to see Anna Klumsky pop up, who I haven't seen since My Girl 2, I suppose. Yeah. Didn't know she was even still acting, to see her pop up in this and play that character very, very well. Yeah. And James Gandolfini, oh my gosh.
He was so great in this.
He is my favorite character in this movie because I buy every word he says in this film. And it's not the gangster boss, even though he has kind of the temperament sometimes, I think. He's not the boss, the mafia boss that he plays in The Sopranos. And he seems to be the one with the most grounded common sense reality of everything, even more so than Mimi Kennedy, the gal that's trying not to send America to war and then ended up resigning at the end. But who is her character's perfect too, though. You know what I mean? It's
really
like
is.
That's that grounding character as well. But James Gandolfini, I wish he'd have gotten an Oscar for this because he was so good.
You're talking the older lady.
Yes.
Dharma's mom.
Dharma's
okay.
mom, yeah.
I don't know.
That's the only thing I've ever seen her in.
I don't know that I can say grounded because her one thing was there's a committee, I got to be on it. And I don't know if it was even necessarily about stopping a war as it was about I want to be on a committee.
Political power.
That's where I got
I think it was
maybe not.
I think it was more than just want to be on the committee. I want to be on the other side on the committee is what it seems to come down to. Is it?
Maybe, but
I don't think that she was necessarily as wholeheartedly against the war as James Gandolfini's character, the general, was, but she was certainly going to be the exact opposite of the Assistant Secretary of Defense. No matter what, she was going to be on the other side of that. So
yeah, but that just.
But again, one of those characters that you care for
Put
because
those offices next to each other. Like that.
One of the people that you sort of care for because I think the viewer is meant to come down on the side of we don't want to go to war. It's a bad idea. You're not rooting for the groups that are trying to orchestrate a war.
Guy.
Exactly.
Whoever's on the other side is fine. Anybody but this guy. So.
I really like the story arc throughout the movie. And now she wrote this paper, and it just Chad always coming around. I smell lobster.
I really wanted somebody to give him his comeuppance, though, until the end when I thought, this guy is just a weasel who's riding the coattails of anybody he can ride.
Absolutely.
And then you kind of have a little bit of sympathy for him because you're like, okay, I see you've got your motivations have been the same through this entire show.
You don't care about anything but
Did you happen to watch through the credits as they roll the additional scenes where they're playing chess or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
So you may wind up with Secretary of State someday.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, please no.
I think one of the best scenes is when the assistant secretary ends up setting Malcolm up with the 23-year-old guy in the office that's supposed to go there and vet his. He's just berating because he's so young. He's junior, thinking he's an intern or something. It's so funny.
Your assistant's going to bring me coffee.
I don't know why, but this is at the end also, but it really made me laugh that they got so upset that I Heart Huckabees was on the DVD list. I don't know why, but I think I laughed the hardest at that.
Why is I Heart Huckabees on the list of DVDs for the troops?
I was cracking up, and Sarah was like, "Why is that funny?" I'm like, "I don't know, but it just strikes me just right."
It's another absurdity. It's a
terrible movie.
It is a terrible movie.
I don't know if I'd go terrible.
Oh, it's a terrible movie.
The funny part,
but also a farce, which I think is the parallel. It's such a dark comedy and a farce that it's almost meta.
And it's an existential film too. So it's
yes.
why would soldiers do? That's not something they should be watching. No, that isn't something they should be watching while they're overseas fighting a war. That's like sending The Stranger over for them to read. No.
Yeah. The joke is not even so much that they do why is this even on the list? The joke is
the fact that it's on the list.
Well, the joke is that later the guy's on the phone going, I had this guy come over, now there's a committee about this. Why is this on the list? I got chewed out today by the assistant, whatever his title was.
Steve Coogan is the constituent that's worried about the wall. I love Steve Coogan. I wish he could have been in this more.
Yeah.
He had the greatest timing.
He does make the cover, which is strange because he's not in it much.
Toby's not on the cover.
Yeah, isn't that weird? I think they went with recognizable actors, though, especially if that's a North American release.
Because Toby and Simon Foster are on the cover.
Right. So I think that is geared towards the American release. I bet if you saw the British release, you'd probably see other actors on the cover of that.
But just the fact that every time he called about the wall, they were in the middle of something really important. Like not going to war.
Yeah.
There's the wall.
Oh, the secretary gal that's with her arm in a sling, and she's the one that's kind of dealing with all of this firsthand. She's also in the thick of it as a different character as well. So I forgot that she was in that as well. Oh, and in the ambassador, the
bald guy. I had to laugh during that.
Is in the thick of it, but his character is very similar as well to the character that he plays in thick of it, and that's the guy that plays the Dark Eyes Master.
Yeah, that's what I was chuckling about. Oh, look, it's the Doctor and the Master, and the Doctor is really ripping the Master a new one.
Go in. You got to delay it. You got to delay the. No, you got to move. First, you got to move it up. You got to move the. You got to move the. Got to move the vote up. I can't do that. You can't just. You got to move.
There's a
you
process.
see him going into the room. Okay, well, gentlemen, there's
just on a laugh. What if we did it this way?
And then the doctor comes back and says, "You got to delay it." I said, "Okay, good job, but you got to delay it." I just moved it up. I won't do it. I can't. No, I won't do it. And then the next scene is him opening the door. Well, something's come up. Oh, man, that was so good.
Peter Capaldi in it was pretty much what I expected from the descriptions I've heard of him, just constantly berating people.
Yeah.
In fact, the moment when
sorry.
Ouch.
The moment when
it's sometimes very uncomfortable.
he actually scales back a little bit with Simon to kind of do the reverse psychology is almost more unsettling.
Yes.
Because you're like, What's he doing? He's being nice. What's going on here?
I knew.
So Sean pulled up the UK DVD cover.
That loud crash you heard was me trying to...
It's got Gandolfini, Chumsley, Simon Foster, because I don't know, Tom Hollander, the actor, Peter Capaldi, and Steve Coogan on the cover.
Okay. Well, Coogan would be on both, yeah, for sure.
But otherwise, it's the same artwork, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But Gandolfini's on the spine.
Yeah.
He's on the spine here, too.
Oh, weird.
Well, that was right in the days of...
That's the Soprano.
Yeah,
Live.
Sopranos.
Yeah.
That was playing on
height.
both sides of the Atlantic, so at the time.
He, I knew Malcolm Tucker swore. I knew he swore a lot.
I didn't know he invented so many curse words.
I've seen some of the clips and didn't realize they were from this as opposed to Thick of It.
Oh, he cusses more in the thick of it. A lot more in the thick of it.
I was not prepared for the onslaught of swear word. And I'm not a prude about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Why do you think I kept saying every time I watch the Doctor when he first started in Series 9 and I keep expecting something foul to come out of his mouth because he still has a bit of the same demeanor as the Doctor.
Yeah.
But there's no curse words. It's like Malcolm Tucker without curse words, and it was unsettling the other way to me that I kept expecting the words to come out of his mouth.
Well, Sarah and I were talking after we watched it, and she was like, "I could totally see Capaldi's Doctor dropping those curse words in there." And Hellbent's
Planet of the Pudding Heads or Pudding Brain.
Pudding Brain.
Heaven Sent wasn't the best to show the range between the Doctor and him. And Malcolm Tucker because he's so mad during most of of that story.
Just wanted a good acting.
It's great. It's great acting.
Yeah, I think if we wanted range, we should have shown Paddington instead.
That's true because he's very different.
He's real different. He's very low key in Paddington.
Yeah, just. One after another and the tirades and the rants and the but never a dull moment, always entertaining. And in fact, when they went to America and he wasn't there, I was a little sad. Like for me, that was a all of a sudden a lull in the film because it's like, where's Malcolm? And then Malcolm shows up,
and Toby's reaction.
But.
And then later when they go back to New York and he's like, I just want to sit in the car. I don't want to talk about it with her. I want to sit in the car and talk about resigning with you. And it cuts to the scene and Malcolm's in the car. It's like, well, that's not happening.
Well, the nice thing about getting away from Tucker is then we get the misadventures of Simon and Toby. And how they're trying to circumvent... was it Judy? Was that the gal that they left behind? He says, "You go." I think I'm sort of thinking on this one. We go without Judy. We leave Judy out. Just you and me. We go out. He said, "Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely a great idea.
Government.
So
you
much,
do it.
so much better." And then he goes, "Okay, go tell Judy she's not good."
That's exactly how it works.
And the look on Toby's face is like, crud.
and which plays in so nicely with the end that we're going to do all this stuff without Judy. We're going to try and circumvent Judy. Toby's actively gunning for Judy's job. Oh, I think Judy's the one that leaked this. I think Judy's the one that did you ask Judy about that? Judy got to keep her job at the end.
Yeah, that's true. And she tells the new guy to put his stuff on Toby's desk, and then Toby drops it on the floor.
I guess we don't know if Toby didn't make it or not because Malcolm did tell him, "I own you."
Yeah, I kind of got the impression
forward,
that he went to go work for Malcolm.
I'm sure Toby went to another office where Malcolm was more involved with what he was doing. Well, if it wasn't for Toby, it wouldn't have got leaked. So,
that's true.
Although you never really get the impression of who actually did the leak, because he tried to give it to the girlfriend who found out that he'd been sleeping around on her when he was in America, and it's just left there, and she's real adamant about no, she's not going to do it. And then when it does leak, and what's his name comes in the office, they both seem very surprised that.
Although I thought he kind of played it more like, yeah, it's me, but I'm not going to fully admit to it. Her boss.
Her boss. Yeah,
who
maybe.
kind of admitted
Classical
to it.
music guy.
Yeah,
well, he
classical
did
music guy.
admit to it, but they were
was
both
me, I
surprised.
did.
And what makes me think that neither one of them leaked it was they really believed that it leaked out of that fax machine.
That's true.
And he divulges later, no, it's an email.
email.
Nobody uses fax machines anymore. It was just a target of aggression or whatever.
I can't kick the internet.
So I really get the impression that they left that ambiguous on purpose. That being said, then
Toby
Toby's
is
definitely
job.
Toby's definitely the one that tipped off CNN, and he completely did not mean to do that.
No, he really did.
He kept calling his friend from CNN. Well, aren't you CNN? Surely you know about this committee meeting. When he go the next day, I go, why is CNN here? How did they know about this?
while we were watching it, when he was trying to leak the Pwip paper, Sarah was like, "Why is he trying to leak? Why is he leaking so much stuff?" I'm like, "Well, I don't think the first one was entirely on purpose."
No,
No.
the Pipwood paper was. The CNN leak was not intentional. He was just utilizing a friend from college.
Wow, that hotel stuff kind of went down for you, Sean, because Malcolm Tucker wasn't there.
Oh, it was still funny.
I really enjoyed it.
Especially when they're sitting on the bed without their pants on, watching something about sharks or
Right after he was bemoaning that he didn't want to stay in the hotel watching a shark documentary, and then he's engrossed.
because he wouldn't have been able to get away with watching porn.
And then he gets so engrossed, and Malcolm changes it, and I was watching that. He was really
He was
just...
changing channel. He just turned it off, didn't he?
No,
No,
he
he-
switched over to some news channel.
Oh, he
because
did.
it was
Switched over
Probably
to the
CNN. There was a
yeah.
tank on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But
That's such a funny movie.
Peter Capaldi is...
That's what we need to do. We need to
We-
drill
we-
down.
let's
Let's drill down to
Peter Capaldi
Peter now. PCAP.
PCAP is wonderful in this, and while the range may not have been there, it really makes me want to watch more stuff that he's in. I want to see him as Cardinal Richelieu now in The Three
Oh,
Musketeers.
yeah.
I want to see... I just blanked on the other thing I was aware of that he was in other than...
Paddington?
Well, I want to see Paddington. I liked him in World War Z, although it was a small part.
Who Doctor?
Apparently he's in the Fifth Estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also in a few episodes of Skins. I think he's in 2 or 3. He plays one of the kids' dad in the second season.
I want to watch it. I want to watch the thick of it. I mean, I enjoyed him so much, and it's looking back on, because since this is the capstone of the Beyond the Doctor series, I've enjoyed stuff that they've been in, and I've enjoyed their performances in these things. But I'm kind of hard pressed to think of one particular Doctor that, acting wise, grabbed me the way that Capaldi did in this. And made me this excited to go and watch more of his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just really, really actively seek out because Peter Capaldi's in it.
Yeah.
With all the rest of them, they've been fun, but it still felt a little bit like homework. You know, we've got to watch this. And this one, now it's like, I'm ready to do more homework. How often do you say that?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I would concur wholeheartedly.
Really?
Yes.
Sarah like it too?
She not so much.
Not so much.
I think the language and the cursing was a bit too much for her.
Mel kind of zoned out about halfway through, too, and began cleaning the kitchen. I mean, she was still listening to it, and I could still hear her laughing in the kitchen as she was listening to the things that were going on.
I think it was just too dark of a comedy for Sarah.
I think that was the problem for Mel as well. Because the dark comedy, those are kind of acquired tastes. You have to really...
Yeah, and you got to be in the right mood for them, too.
Yeah. Glenn's
Unless
over
you're
here going, I don't understand any of the words coming out of your mouth at the moment.
I'm always in the mood for a dark
Yeah, I
comedy.
was going to say, I that's one of those things.
I
that
live in dark comedy.
I hear a lot of people say that. You kind of have to be in the mood for dark comedy. I can't think of a time that I watched a dark comedy that I thought, I just really wasn't in the mood for that. I always enjoy dark comedies.
I guess there's been times where I've gone to my DVD shelf and, Death and Spoochie. No, I'm not really in the mood for that. Dark comedies.
Where do you come down on War of the Roses?
War of the Roses? Oh, I hate it. I hate the movie.
You hate the movie.
I do not like that movie. You're talking about the Michael Douglas.
The one with the penguin and the original Ant-Man and
Didn't like that movie.
Jessica Rabbit.
Didn't like that movie. Not a fan of that. I mean, it's a dark comedy, but it's
for some reason that's what I kind of associate as like my first exposure to the dark comedy genre, and I didn't like it either. And I've gone back and watched it several times trying to like it.
I've watched dark comedies that I didn't like, but I typically do like dark comedies. So
I'm not sure where I come down.
I may have been
sometimes.
too young when I watched that one.
Yeah,
to really kind of appreciate it.
Maybe I need to go back and watch it again now. Anyway, neither here nor there.
When we do Beyond the Marvel Heroes, then we'll pick that one up for Ant-Man.
The original Ant-Man.
The original
Ant-Man. Hank Pym.
Yes.
Anything else about this one?
I feel bad like we haven't really talked enough about Capaldi, but
Capaldi was Capaldi.
He was
and I've seen things where he's got a little bit more range, or he's a little more subdued, or he's a different character. And a couple of the shows that I had, Paddington and Skins, are probably the foremost for me. The other things that I had seen, and Torchwood, yeah. So that's what we should have done, was done Children of Earth. But
I found what we should have done. John and Yoko, a love story.
Yeah,
he played George Harrison.
Yeah. That's an old film.
Yeah, from '85. It's a TV movie.
He played George Harrison?
Yeah. I've actually seen that many years ago. We had that at Duncan's Movie Magic, and I watched that many, many years ago. I'd forgotten that, but now that you say that, I can see him.
Yeah.
He's not in it much, though. So.
Well, it's called John and Yoko.
Yeah.
He's probably in it as much as Andrew Scott's in The Naked.
Yeah, there you go. So.
Does Andrew Scott play George Harrison in Lennon?
No, he plays Paul.
He plays Paul.
Right.
Oh, okay,
he had a good Paul.
All right, well, what do we got coming up on the schedule, Sean?
Well, next week on the schedule, or should I say later this week, for Friday Night Who, which again is our weekly Doctor Who tweet-along, we're going to delve into the Third Doctor's era, so some funky Pertwee, which at Shock the Monkey will be happy about.
Early funky Pertwee.
We will do Doctor Who and the Silurians, or as the hashtag will read, the Silurians.
Just to shorten it more than anything else.
Yeah. You just keep telling yourself that.
I'm going to put DW in this.
You would.
Although if you do Doctor Who and the Silurians and all in one hashtag, you wouldn't have to do the separate Doctor Who hashtag.
I don't know.
That I do. Because it would still pop up in the Doctor Who hashtag search.
You're right, it would.
Yeah.
Don't care.
I don't hashtag Doctor Who anyway. It's a good thing to do because
you
people
should
that
totally
might be
hashtag
searching.
Doctor Who.
No, because I write too much that we've got 30 hashtags and I have to write 2-word sentences.
Copy paste.
No. I'm not worried about how many to top it out. I just don't have any room to say the things I want to say when I've got 13 hashtags.
I'm sorry, Glenn, but I know you've had a lot of resistance.
This good. That funny.
I know you've had a lot of resistance to cutting down this podcast from the 3-hour length that we used to. But you just have to rein it in, pal.
Hashtag Tron joke. Hashtag Doctor Who. Hashtag Doctor Who and the Silurians. Hashtag Friday Night Who. Hashtag I just hashtagged something.
I may have done that on occasion.
Yeah, I know.
I like hashtags. Anyway, so it's a long one, 7 parts, so we're going to split it up.
So is the hashtag.
It is Doctor Who and the Silurians.
Is that a Twitter joke? We're going to split it up and do the first 4 for Friday Night Who episodes of that, and then we will follow up with the next 3 episodes the following week. Now, as for the show, we will have something a little special planned for you in the middle. Of course, again, we've already reviewed the Silurians. It's been a while since we've seen it, but we've already reviewed it. So we'll have a little something special for you on the show for the in-between week. And then the following week, for those of you that like to follow along and do homework, you got 2 weeks to read Lethbridge Stewart, The Grandfather Infestation by John Peel. And then the next short story, which is The Playing Dead by Adrian Sherlock. which will be the topic of our podcast that following week. And then beyond that, we've got TopCon coming up, because we are in Archon season now, for sure. So we'll do the God Complex for Friday Night Who, because Top Gun's headline guest is Spencer Wilding, and he is in the God Complex as the Minotaur, one of many roles that he has played over the years, and one of 3 in Doctor Who, but unfortunately we couldn't watch all 3 of them in one. I guess we could, but that'd
be a lot.
That'd be a lot. So,
maybe if we started earlier.
That's something to look at.
Hashtag I zoned out there for a minute. Did you let the people know we're off next week?
In a roundabout way, we have something special planned. Is what I said.
We're actually going to. We're taking our first week off in more than 5 years. There will not be a regular show next week. We'll just be out there and say it.
Be something for
However,
you to
we will
listen
have
to.
something on the feeds for you. So your podcast feed will not go empty next weekend. So, but just be aware that we don't have an official episode next week.
That's how much
people
we
at
care
home are
about
going, "What?" But no,
But
don't
we love you so
don't
much.
worry.
We're still going to give
Don't
you
worry,
your
we're giving
Traveling
you-
the Vortex fix.
We're giving you your fix. That's exactly right.
And that
Don't
is-
worry, the show's not going away. There's
The
no,
show's not
there's
going
no,
away.
there's no. Oh
There-
my
there-
God,
there's a reason
they're gonna
we've
dwindle
done
down
this.
to a monthly podcast, and then eventually they're gonna go away. No, we're actually just it's time for us to take some time off, and
Don't
we've
even
got-
say it like that, because
Oh,
that's really
that-
not
that
the
sounds
reason.
No,
bad.
it really is. It really is, though. It's time that we get a chance to take a break. We get it. We deserve it after 5 years, but we
But
do
that's
have
not
some,
the reason we're
we
doing
do have
it.
some great things. We do have some great things planned for you. So we are taking a week off to give ourselves a break because we're working into con season, and we've got a lot.
That's
of,
the reason we're
we got
doing
a lot
it.
of things
Doesn't have anything to do with
we
time
have
off.
to. We have a lot of things that we have to plan for. So, we don't get a break, but we get a time off so we can do other things. That
You're making it
plan
sound
for.
like we're going to be on a beach somewhere going.
Well, I am, but
Well, I'm gonna be
I don't
on a
have to be here
mountain,
next
so-
week. I'm going to be I'm going to be a beach next week. Why not?
Bring me another pina colada.
We can do that there too, or this there.
All right. Well, if you
That's the beauty of audio, is I don't actually have to see you every week.
It's true.
We should have planned this out better.
if you want to make sure that we continue to bring weekly content, be sure to visit our website travelingthevortex.com, and on the right
Hashtag,
hand
he's not actually spending the money going to the beach.
on the right hand side of the page, there is a link to Patreon. If you can support us on Patreon, we'd appreciate it. It does pay for the server, which we have that bill coming up very soon. And if you are already a supporter, we do eternally grateful for that, because it does help.
We're also internally grateful.
Yeah, we're internally grateful as well.
I don't know that I can actually say eternally grateful. I mean, I'm going to
You
die
just
at
said
some
it.
point.
You just
Well,
said
I
it.
can't be eternally grateful.
Oh,
I'm
I
going to
see.
die at some point.
Well,
and I'm
I'll
pretty
be-
sure at that point I
Listeners,
will stop being
I will,
grateful.
listeners, I will even be grateful for you after I've gone. So, anyway, we also have some other links there.
Speak
to,
for yourself. I plan to live forever.
We have some other links there to some other websites that you can purchase things, and some of the proceeds to those come back into the show as well. So please
It
support
would be
us there.
really cool for those of you coming to see us at TopCon or Time Eddy or one of the conventions, maybe next year's Planet Comic Con. It'd be really nice to look out in the audience and see some Traveling the Vortex t-shirts.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, you can click on our Spreadshirt show. Spreadshirt
One of these weeks you'll
shop.
get it
It's too much of an alliteration. Spreadshirt
Too many
shop,
S's.
and you can get Traveling Vortex merchandise to wear to your favorite convention. Promote the show.
That's right.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.